In my house, and I'm sure a lot of other houses, our kids just don't like the healthy stuff. Like, at
Yeah.
8 and 10 years old, they haven't developed into enjoying those yet, and if I'm honest, I don't either, and for me, some people have laughed at this before, but for me, it's a texture thing. Like, if I take a bite of lettuce today, I'm still chewing it on Saturday. I can't swallow lettuce, and we're recording this in the summertime, it's hot as balls outside. I would love nothing more than to go get a grilled chicken Caesar salad, cooled off meal. I like the flavors of it, but I can't swallow it. And my daughter has that same sensory thing that I have. And, like, so much of the food that she'll eat, like, even Chick-fil-A nuggets, well, I don't like the Crispies, like, the little crispy part of the ends that I think are delicious. She's like, "I don't like that." Like, it's a texture thing. We've talked to her pediatrician, it's a sensory texture thing for her. And
Mhm.
so, whether it's that or it's just kids not liking the healthy food, how do we introduce those things and build those habits without, like, giving our kids a complex? Because we don't wanna force them to eat something, but we also know we need to start healthy habits. So how would you counsel us in that?
Yeah, that's tough. So it's like picky eaters, and I get the texture and the sensory thing. I think that's really common actually in a lot of kids, especially when you look at things like yogurt or cottage cheese or like creamy things. Or I worked with an athlete who doesn't like hot foods. Like if it's vegetables that are cooked, he won't eat them because they're
Okay.
like hot or like it has or I worked with an athlete that doesn't like hot things and cold things on the same plate. So if like it's breakfast and there's a breakfast sandwich, we can't have cold fruit because the
Okay.
breakfast sandwich is hot. So it has to be one or the other. So I think that's actually really common. The one thing that I'll do if I'm working with someone that is maybe a little more hesitant or resistant to trying some new foods is first of all, sometimes I'll just ask them like, when was the last time that you had this type of food? Right. So like if someone's telling me I really don't like carrots. My first question is like, "Okay, so when was the last time you had a carrot?" And a lot of times it's like, over a year or 2 ago, right? It's not like they had carrots last night and they're just not into it. It's like, "Oh, I haven't had that in a few years." So I think one thing is to remind, our kids or teen athletes or even in college that just as like your body is changing, like your taste buds change too. And the inside of your mouth is changing. And so things that maybe you didn't enjoy a year ago, they might taste a little different to you now, right? And so I think I always encourage like, I focus on one food a week. So when someone's like, I don't eat X, Y, and Z, I say, can we just pick a food this week that you're open to trying? And what I usually do is I give a grocery list. So I have like grocery lists that I use with my athletes. And I'll just say, okay, from this grocery list, there's like 300 foods on here. Pick one that you feel like you could try this week. And that kind of gives them the empowerment of like, they're the one picking the food. I'm not saying, hey, you need to eat broccoli. It's like, you pick the food. So this is your decision. And then let's say they pick like cucumbers, right? Then I'll say, okay, like what are some things that like if that you like as dips, let's say. So like are you a ranch person? Are you a ketchup person? I always like to introduce like a new food that maybe they don't know if they like or whatever. I always introduce it with a food that I know they like. So it's not just take a bite of this, have a sip of water, goodbye. It's like, okay, if you're really into like mac and cheese and chicken tenders, why don't you get a plate of mac and cheese chicken tenders with a little side of ranch? You take your cucumber. I want you to dip it in the ranch, eat it, take a bite of mac and cheese. And then I always want a rating. So I say, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the cucumber? And if it's not a zero, or I usually say if it's not less than a three, zero is like, I'm going to throw up. I'll never have that again. 10 is like, cucumbers are my new personality, right? If it's not below a 3, if it's a 4 and above, then that's a food that it seems like you could probably incorporate into your nutrition at least once a week, right? Like you didn't die from eating the cucumber. You didn't hate it. It wasn't the worst thing in the world. And, cucumbers are really hydrating. They have a lot of like fluid in them and they have vitamins and whatever, however you want to phrase how this cucumber is going to help you with your life. So like if it didn't hurt your body and you didn't like have a panic attack, like Do you think that maybe you could try this again in a few days? And usually, if the score is higher than a 4, they're like, yeah, I could probably do that again. And so
So go
that's the
ahead.
process. And sometimes it's like a 0, and then it's like, "Okay, alright, we're gonna leave that food," and then, like, we probably just won't talk about that food ever again. Like, "We're gonna leave that for now, and why don't we pick a new food?" And just go, like, I don't get too crazy about it. It's just like, "Alright, if that wasn't the food for you, like, why don't we try a new one? And maybe we wanna dip it in ketchup this time," or, like, whatever, or maybe we wanna, like, put it in your smoothie. You won't even be able to taste it, or, try to incorporate it in ways that are gonna work for them instead of just forcing the issue.